Are you ready?
Right.
There we go. All right. Good morning. Good to have so many of you here today who survived the cold of the weekend. If you were a group of elephants, you'd be a parade.
Join the parade.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and our four-way test of
Of
the
the
things
things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it the merit of all concerned? Will build goodwill and friendships? Will be beneficial to all concerned.
All right, thank you very, very much. Today is December 16th, year 2025. It is day number 350. We're getting there. Things you probably don't need to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Fruit Loops all taste the same. The only thing that's different is the color. So just so you know, in case you want to taking out one at a time to see if it tastes. And all that
Reflect your eyes.
You never know, and don't know who the Fruit Loop lovers are. Frankly, the last time I had Fruit Loops, I think I was making necklaces with my daughter. Birthdays today. Beth Melcarrick doesn't happen to be here today. No. And Jeannie Barrett. She here today? Is she online? I don't know. Only Jessica's online. Jeannie's, I always remember Jeannie because her birthday is Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And that's what. Anniversaries to remember. Rose, 19 years.
Wow.
These are all on the first of January, but we should be here. Aaron is 13 years. And Kurt, no, he's 1 year. All right, our guest today is Kevin, right here. All right, very good. The one with the badge. That's usually the giveaway. Do we have any other guests today? So, okay. A little end of the year poll. We come to the end of 2025. Another trip around the sun. We have survived. We've met every week for fellowship and fun, listening to speakers, and we've had some good ones. President Laura helped us for 6 full moons. Then Jen rang the bell after we finished out June. We made a few bucks at concerts loud and sports events of teams of whom we're so proud. We spent a day counting strokes on green links. Up to Ello's in ice cream, we served cones in a bunk. The raffle, as always, is our weekly vice. There are the ace of spades peeked out once or twice. Now, for a fortnight, we'll take a break. Tuesday morning, no great need to awake. As for me, year's end will be time to relax. And I do rest easy, knowing Minnesota still has the axe.
So, good morning, everyone. Jen's not here. Jen emailed me yesterday. She's on jury duty, so she had to step in. So I'm curious, because my wife's been called for jury duty 3 times, and I've never been called. So raise your hand if you've been called for jury duty. Okay, now put your hands down. Raise your hand if you've not been called for jury duty.
I'm the same way, Phil. My husband's gone like 3 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how does that get determined? Does anyone know?
It's lottery draw.
Random voter registration? Yeah, okay. It's interesting that some people have been called 2, 3, 4 times and others not. So.
I wouldn't think voter registration.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's
just
not.
taxpayer.
property tax or just income tax or something. Yeah, I don't know how they do that. So interesting. So anyways, that's where Jen is today. She's on jury duty. Let's see, member minute, Diana. She was not.
Am I speaking or am I talking my story or?
You can tell whatever story you want to tell. This is your chance. You get.
It just has to be a good one.
It's,
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Well, good morning. I think as I look at the crowd, there's some that have heard my story and some of you never have. So I think I'll just tell it.
Yeah.
I grew up in Iowa, small farm. I went to a country school. Graduated from a real small class, but I did go to the University of Northern Iowa and proceed to get a teaching degree in home economics. And it makes you wonder, how did you get to Wisconsin? Well, another home economist and I decided that we wanted to live a different life than we were in rural Iowa. So she got a teaching job in Sun Prairie, and I got a teaching job at Madison La Follette. Most of you know, I managed to meet my husband, Larry, who was a teacher here in Sun Prairie. And when we decided to start a family, I decided that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. So until my kids went off to school, that's exactly what I did. When they did go off to school, I launched a small business here in Sun Prairie called Confection Connections. Downtown Sun Prairie, where Forever Yours Jewelry is right now, I opened the doors and taught candy making classes. And then for the next 24 years, it kind of evolved into a bakery, a tea room, a catering job. We did weddings, we did rehearsal dinners. We did relocate to the main shopping center where the Thai boat noodle place is right now. And when I retired, this is kind of a story that a lot of people understand. 2 months after I retired, Larry got sick. And for the next 14 years, we kind of managed his health with all kinds of things. And the wellness journey was what we were on. And I'll have to say that I'm still kind of on that now with some of the brand partner businesses that I work with. How did I get into Rotary? I kind of shared my story a few weeks ago. Some of you heard it, some of you lived it. I got it in my head that I wanted to sell cream puffs at the Corn Festival. So I invited myself to come to a Rotary meeting with a box of cream puffs. And before I knew it, we were selling cream puffs. How many of you were down on the grounds helping me for 10 years selling those puffs? I bought one. Yeah. A lot of magic. And I think the thing that turned me into understanding the importance of Rotary was that it wasn't the greed that I had in trying to sell cream puffs. It was the magic that happened with all the fellowship and goodwill that came with it. And so now, since 1996, I remain a Rotarian. I love the fact that I get to network with young people, because I am the oldest woman in the club. And I get to stay in tune with all the great speakers that we have. So I guess that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
What a great spontaneous, really good. Rotary moments. Let's see, Teresa, I know, has one.
Yes, the holiday party is quickly approaching, and because we don't meet for the next 2 weeks, please send in your RSVPs. You can email me at my personal or business email. I'm keeping track of them. We'll accept payment at the door. Jim hasn't been here to coordinate anything else, so we're just gonna take it then. We'll have one more meeting, but they want their numbers on the 5th, so we'll take any last stragglers that till next meeting or first meeting in January. Get them into the
Michael.
How many did we have at our Friday meeting? 7?
I think so. Was Aaron there? Aaron, were you there?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 7, yeah.
Yeah, so we had 7 of our folks at the Chamber Coffee Chat Friday, and it worked really well. At the end, they do this circle, and everyone kind of introduces themselves, and it was the longest circle that I can ever remember. People were talking about how Rotary affected them, and it was really interesting to hear people's tales. People after the meeting talked about potentially rejoining. There's someone from Brazil who picked up a different language from being in Rotary, went to a Rotary University. It was really good. So if you came to it, thank you so much. I think it was very helpful. We're going to try and get on a regular rotation to try and do that often. On your table, there is a little wish list that I've come up with. You had no idea when you accepted me into this that I'm really expensive. So the first listed thing there would be an upgrade to the camera. It's not such a big deal and it is not a pressing issue, but it is something down the line. We've been trying to put each of these meetings on YouTube so that someone can Google the Rotary, someone can figure out what meeting they missed, or if the speaker wanted to get a recording of their session, they could get it. This guy, I believe, is from pre-COVID, and the video quality is meh. So I'd like to be able to replace that one, but that is a big ticket item of about $2,000. In the grand scheme of things, I don't know if it will be the highest return on investment with $2,000 to increase video quality. The other smaller ticket items you can see are signage. We've got a sign right out there when you're passing the pick and save. The pictures are low quality, I apologize. I've been trying to tend the grass around it. It's starting to grow up around, but those signs are old and faded and probably not putting our best visibility out there. So I would like to start working to replace the sign there and then replace the one that is by the Walgreens. Both of them have just a circular, the yellow, and the yellow is not yellow. So you can't really tell what we're offering. The replacement signs are on the back. There's more of a rectangular sign to see, and then with it would be a sign that indicates when our meeting happens. So if someone sees the sign and they're interested, they can kind of pop in if we're okay with it. I know most times someone has to be invited, but this would potentially allow more pop-ins to see what we're all about.
We might get another Diana.
Yeah, that's true. So if we're doing both the spots, 2 signs each, we're looking at about $550. You guys saw our budget the last time I was up there. We don't have $550 to throw into that. So if anyone is looking to trying to figure out end of year donations, things like that, I will run with things, but I don't want to start digging into our coffers for signage. That last item, I wasn't going to bring it up. Clients call people and Friday the jerks. Yeah, they were getting real like competitive about how they were raising more money and doing more things. And I want to do one of the things they're doing better than them. They have a really nice sign, and I'd like to put a sign out here if the Colonial Club is willing. Try and make like a permanent home here. We feel like this is going to be our permanent home. So I'd like to talk to the Colonial Club about bringing in a really nice sign that when people drive by, they can see it as more advertising. That one, there's no price on. It's just kind of an idea. I haven't talked to the Colonial Club. If you have any desire to support any of those, thank you.
Wow. Thanks, Michael. And Michael, just so you know, he's out there weed whacking in front of the sign by pick and save. That's a dedication he has.
Thank you.
That's really something. Steve.
Since we're talking about coffee chat, you do meet a lot of bankers and a lot of realtors and a lot of financial service people, but the best thing about the meeting was Michael talking about Rotary. So I'm sorry for you that missed it, but when I talk about Rotary, I tend to talk about what we do, what we have done in the community. What Michael talked about when it was time for the host to talk is why he was here, the need he had and the need he wanted to fill and why he comes here and what he's found in our club. And I have to say, it reminded me of why I'm here 22 years later. For the same reasons, Michael, you did a much better job of talking about why we come to Rotary. And I felt really good about our club after Michael talked. So I learned a lesson. It's like, talk about what really gets you up in the morning and why you come, not, you know, that the awards at school and all the stuff we do in the community. You did a terrific job, Michael. Thank you very much for that.
Anybody else for, oh. Rich.
Speaking of speakers, I have, put together the list for the next weeks of speakers. It is, if you go to our website and on the bottom left-hand corner and you say see all, you'll see every Rotarian there that's responsible for a speaker through the April 28th timeframe. And you'll see people who are going to be responsible for member moment. So you'll see both of those right there. We do have somewhat of an issue with January 6th. That was actually given to somebody quite a bit earlier, and we asked them to drop it so somebody else could take it. They agreed, and now that somebody else is not going to be here. So we still need a speaker for January 6th. So if anybody has one, get a hold of me or Jen so that we can do it. I will not be here in person until March 1 again. We're leaving for Florida right after Christmas. So, but I'll still be working it and still be online and stuff like that. But we do need a speaker for January 6th.
Yeah.
I do not have a fantasy football update. All I know is I will not be receiving the trophy next year. So, or this year. So I brought it in so you could all admire it before it was done.
I can tell you, so Sun Prairie East, which Dan Putzer hasn't been here for a while, but Sun Prairie East for going for first place is Dan's team, still clueless, and Bench and Bar. They're the only two teams going for first on the east side. Anyone have an update on the side west, Sun Prairie West? Nope. Okay. Well, we'll find out who's gonna win that side. Other Rotary moments. Dan.
Little behind the scenes, Patrick Marsh. I got a good notice yesterday from Cindy saying that she worked it out with Groundswell that I can, and I'm watching the weather and I've got a small window here that the ground's still not froze. And so they gave us permission to dig the silt fence in. So I just have to find a little mini excavator. So if somebody's got a mini excavator in their back pocket, I could use it in the next couple of days, but that's what we're hoping to get it while we still can move some ground to get the fence in. So.
Rich.
The other team is Mark Olson versus Jim Scanlon.
Oh,
the two that are
okay.
on the top two.
Other Rotary moments. Anyone else? Yep, Rose.
I just, when our assistant district governor came a couple months or so ago, he talked about our dispatch, the district dispatch that we get in our email. Please look at it. There's some good information out there. I know we all kind of get set in our Rotary ways, but there's some good things to get involved with in our district. So look through that. Andrew, you get it once a month, but it's got some good info on there.
Sure. Jeannie. So Jeannie, oh, isn't it her birthday? Wasn't that?
Yeah.
It's coming up, right?
Yeah.
Jeannie, are you online? Jeannie, are you there? Jeannie, are you there? We're gonna sing happy birthday to you, but okay.
I'm here. I'm here.
Jeannie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Would you like us to sing happy birthday to you?
Yes.
Yeah, you have to put the camera on. First Terry. Terry. All right.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jeannie. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other Rotary moments? Okay, then I'll turn over to John Bilton. John's gonna introduce our speaker today.
Today we have Chief Warych with us.
He has over 24 years of law enforcement experience and joined the Sun Prairie Police Department on May 12th this year. After spending his entire career with the Green Bay Police Department, throughout his professional career, he has been committed to public service, taking on various leadership roles that have prepared him to support and motivate the workforce, foster a strong organizational foundation, and work to protect residents. This policing philosophy is rooted in the principles of community engagement, building relationships based on trust, respect, and legitimacy. Chief Warych believes the most effective way to enhance public safety is by working collaboratively, side by side with residents and officers to understand concerns, amplify community voices, and strengthen perception of safety across the city. In addition to prioritizing community partnerships, he is deeply committed to creating a healthy and supportive workplace culture. The department's goals are clear: deter crime, hold individuals accountable, support employee wellness, and deliver public safety through positive, protective, problem-solving approach based on building relationships. And he could not do anything without his family. He is blessed to be married for 16 years with his wife, Melissa, and has 3 children: Austin, 22, Addison, 15, Braden, 14. Melissa and Kevin have dedicated to their lives to their children by giving them opportunities they deserve. They are proud of Austin for following his passion in photography, Addison for swimming, and Braden for hockey. They are also blessed as family is everything. Chief Warych looks forward to meeting and working with you and all residents, business owners, and community leaders to ensure Sun Prairie continues to be safe, inclusive, and vibrant place for everyone. So, Chief Kevin, thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. These are great days for me because I get to brag about the police department. I get to brag about the city. But it's ironic for me because, like John said, I spent 23 years in the city of Green Bay, and very blessed, and that kind of shaped me personally and professionally. But I got to work a lot with the Rotarians in Green Bay. So it's kind of like full circle for me to stand in front of the Rotarians here. So if anybody knows Steve Mastelier in the Green Bay chapter, snap a few photos and text it to him. I'm sure he would appreciate that. But when you look at the police department and everything that all the members do, and then the service above self approach that the Rotary has as their motto, there's a lot of it's a lot of the same. And every police officer gives their all every single day. They really put themselves in harm's way. Some people question why they would want to do this job. Some people question that, is it worth it? Even sometimes officers, when they get to that 5 year where the shininess of the job has worn off, they're like, I don't know if I can do this, but for me, 24 years in now, I still enjoy coming to work. This is the greatest job in the world for me. And that's the culture, like John was saying in my bio, that's the culture that we try to bring to the police department. Now, it's not as easy, it's easier said than done, but it's important for the community to know that, right? People have to enjoy coming to work. They have to be able to have their barriers taken away so that they can do their job effectively and efficiently. And I think that's what the command staff and the leadership team of the city, the support of the electeds, the support of the command staff and the leadership team of the police department does for the officers. And that's kind of just what I believe in. Not overthinking it. It's just kind of just the way we do it in the police department. It's worked for me in the past. And it's going to hopefully work for me in the future, but it's important that we build that culture internally. Before I forget, someone mentioned jury duty. I have to say this professionally, but when jury duty is the foundation of our civic duty, right? It's founded on the basis of the criminal justice system, and we all do it. Just remember that you love the Sun Prairie Police Department. You love the city of Sun Prairie, and I'm sure that everybody in that court would love to hear that. So I say that jokingly, but I did hear that it goes off your driver's license number. I don't know how true that is, but that's how the rotation is, your DL number. So I've been called for jury duty, got all the way up to almost being called, and then they realized who I was, and then they just politely excused me. So, again, love the Sun Prairie Police Department. But when John asked me to speak about the Rotary, it's the Rotary here, I immediately thought, what would my mom want to hear? And that's kind of how I speak. That's my motto in the back of my head when I do a lot of public speaking and I speak to the media. And it's important for people to know the inner workings, how the police department functions. And I always usually start the conversation of, if someone could just throw out a number, how many police officers do you think are working on the street right now? What, Alder? Well, you know that, you're cheating. Yeah, Aaron and Alder are exempt from this conversation. All right? Yeah, just throw out a number. 20. One more. 12. The answer is 4. Yeah. So between 4 and 5 on day shift, between 5 and 6 during the afternoon, and then 4 or 5 at night. And those officers, it's an incredible, even in the city of Green Bay, I'll give you perspective in the city of Green Bay. Right now in the city of Green Bay at 7:40 in the morning, there's 11 officers that cover the entire city. That's not a lot of numbers. That's not a lot of officers. But the people in the community think that, the number's a lot higher, and that, I'm not here to induce fear. I'm just here to be realistic. But those 4 officers do incredible work every single day.
But they're about 3 times the size that we are too, aren't they?
Correct. Yep.
So
That's about right.
1 for 10,000, then kind of.
Give or take. That's a good way of looking at it. There's a lot of discussion in the profession of what the actual formula is, how many officers per 1,000 people in the city. If we were to do that, I think every municipality would be low. The number of officers per 1,000 people. And we do it based on what the city has done historically, what we've done, what service we can provide. But I can tell you that we live in a very safe community. I would not have a problem with my daughter walking down any street in the city of Sun Prairie. That doesn't mean we don't have problems. Every city has problems, but we work I've worked in 2 agencies now, and both I would consider very safe. And not to the point where I would be worried as, if my mother lived on a street, any street in Sun Prairie, I'd be like, okay, we can do this. And that's important for you to have those conversations with your loved ones, your kids, your friends and family, because it's important for you to know that, because everybody's foundation, everybody wants to live in a safe community. But when things do happen, 99.9% of the time, there's a reason. And that's our job to find out. The random stranger danger crime usually doesn't happen. And it's important for the community to know that, because we as a police department manage crime just as much as we manage perception. If the perception in the community that it's crime ridden, there's speeding everywhere, and it's out of control, but if the data that we focus on, that we make our decisions, doesn't say that, well, then we have a perception problem. So then we as a police department have to figure out how we engage the community to help manage that perception. Now, we may not be able to ever change that perception, but we will sure try. And I can use this. This is a very frequent about speeding. Speeding is our #1 complaint in the Sun Prairie Police Department, and rightfully so. Speeding is the #1 point, I think, in every police department. But speeding is on your doorstep. It's what you see every single day. It affects your safety. It affects your perception. It affects what you think of what's going on in your neighborhood. And that's important for the residents to see and feel. But then when we put a speed trailer on the street and it doesn't say that there's a speeding problem, there's like speeding cars, like 1 or 2. But the data doesn't say that, then we have to work with residents to figure out how we manage perception. That's just as important as managing crime itself. When we look at crime, some of the bigger incidents that happened in the city over the last couple of years, our clearance rates are pretty high. And for the residents, for the taxpayers, that's what they're getting their service out of the police department for, those clearance rates. Now, we don't publicize those clearance rates. as much as we possibly should. But when, as the leadership team of the police department, that's our goal. If there's a violent crime, we want to catch people. We just sent detectives to Georgia, city outside of Atlanta, to track down 2 suspects in a shooting. That's important. I mean, that's your money at work. And then we work with other surrounding law enforcement agencies to collaborate, because those 2 people that we went down to Georgia to get were also wanted in other agencies. And that's the accountability piece that was mentioned in my bio. I really believe, I got in this profession to catch bad guys. I mean, that's just saying it very, very, and that's what I enjoy doing. But I have to do it constitutionally. We have to do it constitutionally. We have to do it the right way. But as a community and as a profession, I think we're changing a little bit. It's not, we just can't arrest our way out of people or problems anymore. We can't arrest our way out of a speeding problem I just mentioned. We can't arrest our way out of a drug problem. We can't arrest our way out of fill in the blanks. We have to figure out ways, and this is what we do, of using the community as a force multiplier. Having those conversations with your kids, having those conversations with your friends about what's going on in the community, being the eyes and the ears in the community, reporting that activity to the police department so that we can investigate. It's not 20, when I got in this profession in 2001, the whole motto was, well, we'll just throw a bunch of cops at it, throw a bunch of tickets at it, arrest a bunch of people, and hopefully the problem goes away. Well, that traditional style of policing doesn't work anymore. And we have to figure out ways to engage the community, do a lot of focused deterrence, street intervention, which is, putting people in the community that, are messengers and trying to divert people away from crime. That, I believe, is the key in the future of policing. Doesn't mean we're soft on crime, doesn't mean we're not going to hold people accountable, but we have to think of creative ways to intervene in people's lives to divert them away from life of crime. At the end of the day, that is our goal, and that's the direction the profession's going. Not all people subscribe to that, and they just want to stick to their traditional ways of policing, which that's fine. It's just not what I believe in. But it's important for the community to know that and see that. So, for the city of Sun Prairie, we're pretty blessed. We have the support of the community. We have the support of the electees, the city staff of what, I've always, Aaron always says to me, tell me what you need. Tell me what you need. I'm 7 months into it. And, someday I'll say, I need this, this, and this. And I'm sure Aaron will get that for me. Somebody write that down. I'll try. Yeah, somebody write that down. I've got a lot of witnesses.
We'll get you the recording now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Memory.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for telling me this meeting was recorded too. Go to answer the jury duty question a whole lot different. But I want this, this morning, this is more interactive. I could get up here and talk about crime. I could talk about community engagement. I could talk about the city. But like, if you have questions, please, there's any question about the police department, please raise your hand. Let's have this more interactive than me just doing. If not, I got other topics we can discuss. Go ahead.
Are there ways that in writing, or how do you work with other departments, whether it's the sheriff or neighboring community? Is there any structure so that there's not too much time spent on deciding who's going to do what and work together? How do you decide where to work with other departments?
Yep. And the collaboration, there's power in numbers, right? And that applies to all organizations. So in the city of Sun Prairie, it is our primary jurisdiction. So the home rule applies. So if it happens in Sun Prairie proper, we'll be the lead investigation. And then if we need help, we'll call the sheriff's office. Or if some crime happens in the city of Sun Prairie and goes into another jurisdiction, then, they'll help. There is a lot of mutual aid in policing, just like in the fire service. And we all work very well together. And it's getting a little weird. You're reading some of those articles out of Madison. But let people make their own informed decisions on that. But if another law enforcement agency is calling for help, we're coming.
So some of the television series make it seem like it's a constant battle between departments, but I think you need to counter that image that the television has done.
Yeah, well, and they glamorize it, right? But 20 years ago, that was real. There was a bravado amongst departments, you know, even where I came from. And I'm like, hey man, like we're on the same team here. Like, just because you work for somebody else doesn't mean we can't do the same thing. And little of that exists. I haven't seen it here in the Madison area. Have not. 20 years ago, I saw it, and it was really, it came up to like SWAT teams. Like, oh, my SWAT team is better than your SWAT team. You know, it's like, hey, you know, if the bad thing's happening, does it really matter where you're coming from? You know, so I have not seen that here, but we don't have that problem.
You talked about you have 3 shifts.
Yep.
Do people constantly change shifts, or do they tend to work the same shifts?
The officers work the same shift, and they're on a 6-3 rotation. So 6 days on, 3 days off, throughout the entire year. And then once a year, all the officers pick what shift that they want to be on by seniority, so that they can plan out you could plan out your entire year with your family. And that's really valuable because there's a lot of officers that value that time away from work.
You talk about speeding. What's your take on like what might be a perceived inconsistency on like the west side of town where Highway 151 out on Main Street's 25 and it intersects with Grand Avenue that's 40? It just seems a little inconsistent. Do you have input to the powers that be to, you know, change that? Or
yeah, and we're very blessed to have a traffic coordinator here in the city. We couldn't hire a traffic engineer in the city of Green Bay, so coming here is like coming to heaven for me. And to answer your question, the traffic coordinator does these traffic studies. And traffic studies will tell the amount of traffic flow in each direction. They'll measure the size of the street. They'll measure, and they'll take in all these considerations, the size of the median, the number, and then they'll do this whole thing. And it's like way beyond my educational level to tell what the appropriate speed is on that street. And please, David Solomon, I hope his ears are ringing right now. He does a tremendous job of providing that data to the police department. And then we work, Jason Lefebvre is one of our day shift sergeants who his niche is traffic. And him and Jason work together to provide that data to the electees, Alder Owens and his staff, to determine what the appropriate speed is for streets and stuff like that. We'll go here first.
How's the hiring pool for new police officers, and what would be generally the starting pay?
Yep. Over the last 5-6 years, the profession has, had some ebbs and flows. And in the city of Sun Prairie, is no different. They hit those peaks and valleys. And I've always said that there's never a shortage of people that want to be police officers. There's a shortage of qualified people to be police officers. There's a big difference. There's a very big difference. And it is our job to put the best people with, character is my number one characteristic that I look for people when we hire police officers. And leadership and competence also are right up there too. But, we look for good people. And when we got here, I got here 7 months ago, we were 6 to 7 officers down. At present day, we're 3 officers down, so we're making progress. On January 5th, we're going to hire another 3. So we're going to be close to fully staffed. And, starting pay is probably right around $60,000, $70,000. Yeah. Which is incredible. I started for $16.75 in 2001, and look how far the profession's come. But, it's important but let me just expand on one thing, because I don't want to give, a smoking mirror here. If we have 60 officers hired, that doesn't mean that we're 60 officers operational. If I hired you today, let's say I hired you today, it would take a year for you to become fully operational for the police department. So there's a lot of people that, come into the profession that need the police academy. So on January 5th, we're going to hire 2 individuals that need to go to the police academy. The police academy is 5 months. It's in Madison, or there's throughout the state. They go to this police academy for 5 months, and then they come out of the police academy. They pass, God willing. And, then they have to go into the field training process. The field training, process is another 5 to 6 months. With time off and holidays, it's a year. So before, if you got hired today, if you went through that entire process and successfully passed everything, you would not be in a squad car by yourself responding to calls for approximately a year. So there's this big lag between the date of hire to where you're fully operational. Now for the electees, that's the reason why our overtime is so high. And we're trying to figure out ways to be more proactive. So the city being proactive, and this is again, very progressive in my opinion, because I don't see many cities do this, that they created a lateral officer training program to incentivize people that have prior experience, which reduces that 5-month training window that they don't have to go to school. So then they just enter the field training process. And if they've got experience, the learning curve is a lot less. And then they're in a squad car by themselves a lot sooner taking calls. So that's important for the community to know. So when you see the chief say, yep, we're fully staffed, well, does that mean you're fully operationally staffed or fully staffed just by the number? Then you throw in people's lives. You know, I'm all for, you know, people having children. So then, you know, people are off the road for that. People are injured. Life throws a bunch of challenges at you. And, you know, it's just a constant number. I'll get you next month.
When you talk about, learning to be operational, you know, that 6 months, if you change communities, do you have a time, you know, like you're a police officer, but you go to a different city? Do you have that time of training too, or?
Yeah, every city will make you go through the field training process, because every city does the paperwork different, might have a different computer system. Geography is the most difficult thing. Like in the field training process, if you're a new police officer, getting to the call is 50% of your stress. It's crazy. And I'll never forget that stress. And we didn't have GPS. We didn't have computers, you know, in 2001, we had maps, and some people don't even know how to read a map anymore. Right? I mean, look at that. And my kids, I'll use my kids as an example. Addison and Braden, if I said, hey, can you get me to this street and here's a map? They'd be like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, and throw the thing right back at me, you know? Then they whip out their phone and be like, all right, let's go, you know? It's just different, right? I mean, it's different. Go ahead, Mike.
So you came in from Green Bay, when you got here, were there any specific, like, red flags or things that you saw immediately that you needed to change or improve?
Everything's good, Chief.
Next question. Mike, great question.
Yeah.
No. I did a lot of research, and Eric probably can attest to this. I did a lot of research coming here. You know, moving your wife and kids when they're in high school is a big thing. And I knew I had to do everything. I called so many people. I almost probably to the point of like, this guy's like probably crazy, you know, but I wanted to make sure that I knew exactly what I was stepping into. And as far as red flags, no. I think, and I don't consider this a red flag, but I think every police department can always improve on their communication with the community and their transparency. And those are two things that I really pride myself on, to the extent that the law will allow me to. Because I want the community to support the police department. I want the community to say that, you know, I don't, you know, if someone here disagreed with something that I was doing, I would probably say, okay, let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's lean into that and figure out what right looks like and come to some, hopefully, perspective on both sides, not necessarily agreement. But I'm not going to shy away from, you know, having those hard conversations. And I think that's what the community expects of the police department. And there is some consternation about, you know, said things in the community. And the police department, you know, as much as they don't have a conversation because they're like, well, the electeds tell us how to run the city. Then the city staff, the city leadership, you know, runs the city. And then the police department is just one person in the sandbox, you know, but I think there's a lot of influence there. And I think that I don't never consider it a red flag. I'll just think and look at it as more of an opportunity to engage in those conversations and make sure that we're transparent to the point we can.
So, you know, I'm sure traffic and speeding and stuff is a big priority, okay? Which means, you know, the officers have to be doing that enforcement. But, you know, a few weeks ago, we had, I think it's Officer Torres, on Sunday morning, came into the church, and just, introducing himself, getting a look at the building, meeting people, which to me, I think is really important, that if, God forbid, something ever happened, that he's been in that building and that he understands, the layout and there's a familiarity with, but it does, it's a trade-off, right?
Mhm.
If he's in there engaging with the public, he's not doing enforcement. And, I worked for Hallman Lindsay Paints for a long time, and we had an annual visit from the fire department to come and walk through, which we dealt with a lot of combustible and flammable materials, and really important that they knew our facility, and they always did that. But I think there's a trade-off there, because there's, like, say that just for them too, there's a lot of other priorities. But I do think that stuff's really important. Maybe you don't hear that from the public, but I think it's really important.
Well, yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I'll when I see Lottie, I'll make sure that his actions had a really lasting impact. But, I talk even with the officers, is like, there's so many aspects of policing, and it's not just arresting the bad guy, writing the tickets, it's traffic enforcement. Like, an officer walking into the Colonial Club or an officer walking into a church, people will automatically assume that, oh, there's something bad, there's something wrong, right? That, as a community, we have to get to the point where, oh, that's pretty cool, right? Totally different perspective, right? Or it's like, yeah, let's welcome in any time and not automatically assume the worst. It's no different than if we're driving away here, going on our day, and a cop pulls behind us, and you're like, uh-oh. Looking at your speedometer, going to jury duty, but we want to get where policing is just that police officers are just normally accepted in the community. And in, the world we live in, right? And we look at all the crime, and when we look at crime, is it politically motivated? Is it based on religion? And then we look at, if something bad were to happen, what are the most vulnerable targets, right? That's what the police officer's processing in their mind. And that's for us to worry about. That's what we get paid to do. That's why we got in this profession. We just want you to live in, the great city of Sun Prairie. But, for officers to get out of their squad car and have those conversations and just shake people's hands, it's priceless.
I was involved with the neighborhood navigators probably 5 years ago. We had 2 navigators that were over at the Element. And the comment that they had made at the time was, when a police car comes in, everybody runs.
Mm-hmm.
And it took them, I don't know, 2-3 years to really work with it and the police department, so that when the police car comes, they ran to the car.
Yeah.
And got to know these people and that kind of stuff. And that was really eye-opening to what I think how people feel more comfortable over in that area, because they know their enforcement there, and that they're not there to cause trouble, they're there to help. And I think that was huge.
And I think as a police department, that's what we're always going to do that, because we don't want that. We want that mutual respect where it's okay for the officer to show up, but it takes 2 people, it takes 2 entities in that conversation. So we have to do that, and the people have to meet us halfway. But really what I've learned in my career, and this was an aha moment in my career, I was doing a similar speech like this, and we were talking on a very similar topic, and one of the people in the community is like, well, why do you expect people to come to you? And I'm like, oh man, that's a really good question. It was an aha moment, the light bulb went off for me. So from that point forward, and I can remember her name to this day, it's like, we as a police department have to make the concerted effort to go and meet people where they're at, right? We can't expect people to meet them. They can't expect them to come to us because they're afraid they've got whatever life has given them the reasons why. But our goal as the Sun Prairie Police Department is always to meet people where they're at.
Do we still have a police liaison in the school?
Yeah, we have 2. We have 2 officers.
Because I know I was a teacher, and I know they can diffuse the situation because the kids start coming to them, and sometimes they can talk them down.
Yep. The school resource officers is a wonderful program. And I've seen some, agencies around the nation take them out. When I got here, I tried to stick my nose into the inner workings of the school resource officer program. And I'm very proud to say that Royce and Jamie do an excellent job. When I asked the number of tickets that they wrote, and the answer was 2, I was like, we should all go to lunch because the day is already a success. Because, you know, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of concerns and articles about that school to prison pipeline that you read about. These officers are doing great every day. They're not, you know, just ticketing their way out of problems. They're figuring out ways to help kids, figuring out using the school to do that as a force multiplier and not use the criminal justice system as the leverage to get compliance. So I'm assuming you're standing up.
One more
Question. Yep. Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
All right, two more questions.
What about ICE?
Yeah.
What's your have they contacted you? Are they in the area? What's the relationship?
Well, the relationship is mutual respect from far away. That's the short answer. The role of immigration enforcement is I have no authority. I don't want to be involved. We're not doing it. And, you know, people can be here and feel welcome and inclusive here in the city. I've made that very clear to the officers, that this is not our authority, and let them be. You know, immigration, I've heard in my 7 months of being here, they've been in the city once. And I found out after the fact, and they were here for one individual who had a pretty lengthy criminal history, to the point where if I was telling my mom, who lived in Sun Prairie, that person's not a good person, then that would be okay. Go ahead, sir.
Do we have women and people of color on the force?
We do. You know, trying to diversify the workforce is one of our goals. I look at the school system, because I look at the kids in schools and use that as our base of, in 20 years, those are our future police officers. We strive to diversify the workforce. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head because I don't want to misspeak, but we have multiple people of diverse backgrounds, multiple females, that work. And that really that's the beautiful thing about the police department, because there's a million ways to do this job. There's a million different perspectives, and it just takes people from all different backgrounds to, you know, make it beautiful. So
Thanks. Dave,
Okay, well, it's time for your happy dollars. What is speed and steel?
Something where they like take old cars and repurpose them and redo them.
Oh, really? I thought it was a band.
Well, I'm sad that Laura's not here to talk about Nebraska volleyball. I have to put $1 in for the Wisconsin women's volleyball team, so good for them, Final Four. They got a big staff, so Kentucky's a really good team.
Because that's this weekend.
And it's Thursday.
I have two. I think I've told you before about the shelter from the storm and how the Triple Gulf is helping them out, and it has really blossomed. We are going to be Wednesday, tomorrow, we're taking over all the gifts for 41 kids. We got all 41 taken care of. It's going to take a minivan and an SUV to get it over there. And then what started happening is that then people said, well, geez, you know, I got all these extra clothes. What do they need? And then towels. I've got these towels that, you know, can they use the towels? And then one guy came up and says, hey, you know, I have a 65-inch TV. I don't know what to do with it. And it just went on and on. So we've got a lot of extra stuff going over there. They're redoing one of their units, and the TV is going to go into there. They do a lot of cleanup around there, so the towels will come in hand. I mean, it just really blossomed, and I can't be more proud to be with that. The other one I have is, this will be the first Christmas day, probably 10 to 12 years, that our entire family will be together.
Ooh, fun.
With my son being back from California and stuff.
Okay, Ms. Engel?
Thank Kevin for being here today. I'm trying to think of things to add to his bio. A little bit on the side. I've known Kevin for 26 years.
Yep.
My son and him went to school together. You know, just share this little thing.
They roomed together for a couple of years. But the second year, they all got, him and his mother got together to room together, right? Kevin didn't want to graduate in December. So he took off to Spain to get his minor in Spanish. And then he came back. I got new hearing aids. That's what I was supposed to see most of this year with my clean doctor. It's great to be able to hear it. Kind of picking up every fifth or sixth word. So. All right. Everybody back table, this table.
Just want to echo what Steve said about Wisconsin volleyball, and I actually feel a little sorry for Laura and the Nebraska girls. The fourth set that they played was probably the best set of volleyball I've ever seen in my life. And I was just kind of hoping that we'd get a chance to be there.
Here you go.
Rick.
About 6 weeks ago, we were trying to get our roof on our medical clinic, and it's actually about the size of this building here. And we were short $30,000, and I think the last 10,000 will be coming in this week.
Everybody in this room knows where that medical clinic.
Oh,
Tanzania.
Okay, here we go. You're on.
All right, I'm gonna use my $3,000 just to talk about the police department and my experience with how proactive they've been. So 24 years ago, when we moved here, one of the things that I got involved with when I was the principal at Bird School was the police liaison officer program for the school district. And I actually went down to Savannah, Georgia for some training to help make that program happen. And I've been super happy that it's continued. I mean, it has changed over the 20-some years, but that it has continued as a proactive thing. Another thing that my wife and I did, and yes, we're kind of weird, but we used as a date night the Citizen Academy, the Police Citizen Academy. And we went to that academy and we had a great time and we learned wonderful things. But for us, it was a night to get out and have some fun and really enjoy it. But what a great way to learn about what, you know, the police department is doing. And Julie likes to point out to me that she actually got to go to the shooting range and drive a police car. And I was stuck in Detroit when that happened, so I didn't get a chance to do that fun part of it. But it was a really, really great experience. And so if you've never done it, I encourage that. And then the third thing, back when I was the principal as well, you know, and at our church actually, when we would ask for training and advice and stuff like that for potential active shooter situations, those types of things, our police department has always been amazingly proactive and stuff like that, even to the point where I offered up our school where they did more intense training and I just had to hide in my office and not get in their way. But we just have a very, very proactive police department in Sun Prairie. I just think they're amazing.
All right.
Thank you.
Rick is the hard to see here.
Yeah.
Got through the cold spell this weekend. And the second one is I'm thankful for the police department too, because I've had to call them numerous times with all the traveling that I do around town, and they've always been helpful whenever I've called.
Let's see, where, I can't, lost my train of thought here.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was a short train.
Thank
Here.
You were thinking, I thought I was going
Over here. Oh, you got a free one.
No.
You got a free one.
You have to train the police department.
I don't even have to say.
We know.
Yeah, no, I just,
And then I will take $1.
you know, it's not about police department here. It's not everything about the police department, but my dollar, my thankful is the snowplow drivers that have done a tremendous job here in the month of December with all the snow. So JR, his ears are ringing too, but done a tremendous job with this.
Right. Well, here.
Well, I got to have a wonderful moment with my family. last Thursday, I went with my son and 3 grandkids, and myself, and we went on an airboat out ice fishing on the Mississippi. And talk about an experience where in an airboat, if you've ever been on one, it's not like it's got a rudder and it steers you. It blows you wherever it goes. And we went down, we busted water, we went through open water, we went up on the snow, and had a phenomenal day catching perch that were the size of those footballs. I mean, they were just amazing, and we caught our limit. We were the only ones out there. I don't know why.
Zero weather?
Well, no, it was Thursday. It was still actually, it was maybe a high of like 18 or something like that. And it was calm. So it was actually quite nice out there in ice fishing conditions.
Where was it at?
We went up by Alma. It was north of Winona. So.
Great. We got one new boss, you're the last one.
Just maybe everyone, have a great holidays, right?
Yep.
A couple of weeks off from Rotary, but however you celebrate the holidays, if that's going to church or whatever, have a great holidays.
That's why I have a happy dollar too. Everyone have a wonderful Christmas.
So raffle draw, I'm gonna have the police chief draw the winning ticket. So if he doesn't draw your ticket, don't get mad. He has a gun.
All right, winning number 704-199. There it is.
Let's do it. You got
Ace of clubs. Okay, everyone have a great couple of weeks. We'll see you January 6th.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Where's John?
Where's John? Right there.
John, I want a picture. Oh, I want to post this.
I'll get a picture. You want to?
I don't know. Yeah. You want to? You can come in the picture too. Oh no,
No, go up there. There.
All right, all right.
Here, I'm gonna get the Rotary sign.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go.
Outstanding. Great.
Yes, listen. All right.